Hey, everybody, we're here for a new episode of the show that has yet to be named. I'm here with Kim from Kims.Cinema.Escape, special guest. Say hi.
Hello.
She said hi. That's a first. Usually, no one says hi. Okay,
Oh,
so,
there.
well, this episode, we're going to be talking about our top five favorite horror sequels. And in typical fashion, I have basically all ties. Um, so, it's called a caps. When you have a tie, it's called a caps. Um,
Right.
for no reason at all, except to make fun of the other guy on the show. So let's just get into this. You can start off with number five.
Okay. You told me that not to make them all ties, by the way, so you've just gone
Yeah.
against your own thing.
That's the point of the show, is to never do what you're supposed to do.
Well, I
So,
tried to do it properly.
well, good.
Right. Well,
That's nice of you.
my my number five is a bit shit, but Bride of Chucky.
I mean, it's your favorite list. You can have whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, it's something like I grew up watching that one before. I'd seen that one before I'd seen any of the other films for some reason. I don't know why, but I just find it so self-aware and tacky and silly, but I love it. And who doesn't love Jennifer Tilly?
I mean, if had you picked Seed of Chucky, this might have been a different conversation. But
Oh, that's terrible.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
terrible. Bride of Chucky's like that kind of peak end of 90s, early noughties kind of style. I don't know. It's just silly and knows it's not trying to be serious.
yeah.
Um, and it kind of still has a bit of, it doesn't go too far with the ridiculousness like Seed of Chucky does. So I kind of, I do. I really enjoy that one, even though it's not the best film.
I
I'm fully
mean,
aware of that.
has Redman, so it's already good. So okay, for my number five, I have a tie, as I said. So I mean, I had a lot of movies on this that I wasn't sure. Do I want to include it? Do I not? So I'm kind of in the boat with you. I don't really have any movies that I would say are bad, or not bad at all. But okay, so I have a tie: Exorcist 3 and Dawn of the Dead.
Cool. Yeah.
I don't really
Is there
have
a preference over which one or?
not really. I felt like I like both movies. I think Exorcist 3 is very surprising, and
Mm,
most people don't watch it, especially because the second one is so bad. The second one is one of the worst big budget horror movies ever made.
yeah. Well, you don't even need to watch the second one to
No.
you can kind of skip over that one and go straight to number three, can't you? So
And Dawn
yeah.
of the Dead is a classic. So I felt like I had to put it on my list because I do like it. I like it a lot more than any of the other movies in the series.
Mm. I that's the series that I'm not very. I need to. That's on my list to do this month.
And it's
So
weird. I
I would.
have I have another one coming, but I always talk about how much I don't like zombie movies. But I mean, there's a couple good ones. All right.
Yeah,
You,
I think there's some good ones around.
there
I
is.
haven't seen. I've only seen Night of the Living Dead. I watched. Well, it's not even part of the series. And then the remake of Dawn of the Dead. That's
Yeah.
as far as I've gone, to be
My
honest.
my horror expert. She she's seen one movie. Okay. Give us your number four.
My number four is Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors.
Okay.
Um, the I think it just kind of again it kind of embraces the silliness of it all, and the practical effects in it are just great. I think it's kind of the consensus that's one of the better sequels. But it's just loads of fun. You got young Patricia Arquette in it as well.
Who
And
is
it's
very good.
yeah, she's really good. Yeah, it's just a bit different. It kind of takes it in a different direction because the second one's not great. But yeah, I think it's generally considered one of the better ones. But yeah, it's just again, it's got a bit of silliness to it without taking itself too seriously. But some of the effects and some of the kills and stuff are just so ridiculous, but they're great fun. So yeah, that's my number four.
That's a good choice. Okay, so for my number four, I have a three-way tie, and I did this on purpose because originally I had these spread out throughout the list, and I was like, I don't really want to take up spots with these because they're so cliche to have like one of these movies on your list, which you kind of
Mm-hmm.
just did. But I mean, I didn't want to have a list full of like the most popular franchise sequels.
Mm-hmm.
So I put them all in one spot. I have Halloween 2, which I don't understand the hate for that movie at all. It's like a fun movie, and it's still dark. Jason Lives, which is Friday the 13th 6, and New Nightmare, which is, I believe, the sixth movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Which,
think, yeah.
and it was like the first meta horror movie before Scream. It was like Wes Craven figuring out what he was going to do going into Scream. And the Jason Lives is the best, just the best movie in that whole franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think New Nightmare was actually one of my honorable mentions. Again, it's just, I like that kind of meta style. And what was it, his film before Scream? Was it his Scream, his next film after
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I believe it was, yeah.
Like you could say, you can tell that that was kind of his, well, not inspiration, but yeah.
It's filmed a lot like it too. The way he directs the movie, like the visuals are very similar to what we got in Scream. I had Dream Warriors on the list originally, but I prefer New Nightmare, so I just stuck with just that.
Yeah, I think they are the two only decent sequels, really. Yeah. I just prefer Dream Warriors that slight bit more, but New Nightmare's great. I always kind of forget about it for some reason, and then
everyone does
watching it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know, because it's so different, and I feel like it merges in with. It's so different from the rest, but it merges in to the more modern, I don't know, more modern time, I guess. So I just forget about it, but then yeah, I do really enjoy it though when I when I do remember it. Am I go on to number 3 now?
Yep.
Yeah, my number 3 is one you've already said, Exorcist 3. I only watched it for the first time a couple of years ago, and it was great. Loved it, and like I've not seen the second one. I just going to skip over that one because I just know it's terrible. It's considered one of like the worst films ever made.
I feel like if you've never seen it, you should definitely watch it.
Oh, it's just putting myself through something I know is really bad, but eventually I'll get around to it probably.
The spectrum of horror movies is like most of them are here in this like safe place where they have like the right amount of scares and gore, but they're not really good movies. And there's like a very small amount that you consider like actually genuinely like quality films. And then there's like an even larger portion that's just straight up garbage. And I think if sometimes you have to dig into the garbage because there's a lot of fun in those bad horror movies. Like everything in the middle is the same.
I kind of agree, but it's that line where it's kind of garbage that's fun, but then you just get straight up garbage.
Okay.
And it's just like why, like where that line lies. I feel like that is what Exorcist 2 is going to be.
That line lies at Exorcist 2. They are the divider of where shit begins. And you're not in the third movie, so
I have no idea.
I mean, yeah. All right, I'm going to number 3. 28 weeks later.
Oh, interesting. Fair enough.
And like I said, I don't like zombie movies. I really like a lot of the performances here. A lot of them are surprising because at the time I didn't know who any of those people were except for oh my gosh, what's his name? Carlisle?
What? Oh, I know who you mean. Guy from Full Monty and stuff.
Yeah.
Robert Carlyle.
Yeah, there you go. I'm so bad with names, as everyone who watches this show knows. So that's my number 3.
I'm quite surprised by that one. I haven't seen that one in years, and I don't find it I can't remember a thing about it. Like I just don't find it as memorable, but I'll probably rewatch it this month because I'm going to do both of them, I think, in my little zombie marathon. So I'll report back to you, see if.
All right, you let me know.
My number 2 is Scream 2.
Well,
I think.
Hold on, let's just do this together because my number 2 is also Scream 2.
Oh, wow! Right. I'm surprised it's not your number 1. To be honest,
I
love Scream.
I know I was pretty close, but yeah, if you look on Google on like horror sequels, a surprising amount of times it comes up as number 1, and I was shocked by it. Not because it's a bad movie. I just didn't think that everybody felt that way. And there's only one reason why it's not my number one, but we'll get there when I get to my number one. So why don't you tell us about Scream 2?
I think it's one of the rare sequels that's actually as good as the first. I like you saying, not a lot of people agree, but I think it is as good. It's got it doesn't go too far with its meta stuff like number 3 does. Number 3 is past the point that it's just like parody and it's just not the same, but I think it has a good enough twist in it and things like that. It keeps the same tone whilst keeping it fresh and new with its own weird little rules and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it's one of the few that is just as good as the first. So I think it kind of deserves to be considered one of the best ever, not just for me, but generally.
I agree.
To be honest,
I think for both of my top 2, I feel that way about both of them. But
yeah.
I mean, Scream is a really special franchise. The three is like the weird hiccup. And personally, I still like watching 3 because it's funny. Like it's by far and it has the most real horror in a way that I can't explain. Like, I don't know if you remember the third one, but there's like the scene where Sydney's mom, like her ghost or whatever, is at the door in a body bag and she's just dreaming it. But it's like the scariest moment in all of the Scream franchise. And they do a lot of weird supernatural things in the third one that kind of throws a hiccup or a wrench into the machine. But one list I saw today by a major website, I believe it was Collider, they said that Scream 4 is the best movie of the franchise. And I don't, you're idiots. Okay, so
yes,
I mean,
put it plainly.
Let's get your number one.
Well, this is my kind of tie because I didn't know whether one was fully a horror film or not, but I'm just going to put it in there anyway. So that was Aliens. It's more action than horror, unlike the first one, but I guess it's still kind of, I don't know.
I think it's a fair inclusion for the one fact that on every single horror sequels list on all of the internet, it's on it. So
yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, but I consider it more because it's fucking James Cameron. It's just more action.
It's definitely an action movie.
But it's one of the best sequels ever made, so it's going in. But my proper number one is Evil Dead 2.
All right, so we tied on number one as well. I was conflicted. I wanted to put Scream 2 at number one, but because Evil Dead 2 is kind of a remake. But it's not.
It's not, but it is.
it acknowledges the first movie through like sort of Easter eggs, I guess, but it also otherwise, like in the story, never acknowledges the first movie. It's almost like a complete redo. In like the way he got the budget now, Sam Raimi, and he was like, now I'm gonna redo this movie and do it the way I wanted to do it the whole time. I mean, it's amazing. It's probably my favorite horror movie ever.
It is great. I think that was one that I grew up with. My mom was a massive Evil Dead fan, and she was kind of like, when you're younger, you can watch Evil Dead 2, but you can't watch the first one because the first one's too grim. And so that was the one that I always watched. But then, it is a weird kind of hybrid remake sequel, but I think it's called Evil Dead 2, so it's going in the sequel list.
That's where I was like, you know what? It has a 2, so it's going in.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just great, and bloody Bruce Campbell, like, iconic.
I don't think Bruce Campbell has ever not been good in a movie. Like, I wouldn't say his range is like amazing, but it's like you never have Bruce Campbell in a role and you're upset that Bruce Campbell is there.
No, if anything, it just makes it better.
Yeah, exactly.
He just lights up the room.
It's true. It's if anyone's not seen that, I recommend it. Aliens 2, well, Aliens as well. Okay, so you want to just give a quick run through of your list?
So number 5 was Bride of Chucky. Number 4 was Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. Then Exorcist 3. Then Scream 2, and then Evil Dead 2 and Aliens tied at number 1.
All right, and mine is at 5, Exorcist 3 and Dawn of the Dead. Number 4, Halloween 2, Jason Lives and New Nightmare. Number 3, 28 Weeks Later. Number 2, Scream 2, and number 1, Evil Dead 2. Okay, so I told you to put an honorable mention, like a real honorable mention. Did you pick one?
I would probably give it to New Nightmare. That's probably the best out of. I've got a few written down that I enjoy, but that's probably the best one out of the lot for me. But I also put in Final Destination 2 and 3.
I see. I've never really experimented in Final Destination. I love the first one, and I've seen the other ones, but I never went back to like see them again.
Yeah, well, I rewatched them all last year, like in very quick succession. The second one was one that I watched a lot when I was a kid, and then the third one came out when I was like peak in like teenager in school, so everyone was watching that one. I think they're better than the first. Not necessarily in quality, but just in like kills and gore and stuff like that. The first one's a bit tame.
The fifth one is pretty good.
Yeah, the fourth one is terrible. It's absolute garbage, but the fifth one's actually all right. It's got a really good ending and twist to it, which I hadn't seen that one when I redid more last year. So yeah, because I thought the fourth one's crap, I'm not going to watch the next one, but I'm glad I did because it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also had Halloween H2O because I watched that loads.
Halloween H2O was originally on this list. Like I said, I had 3 spots and I gave each spot to one of those franchises. So I had Jason Lives and Part 4, which is the first one with Tommy Jarvis. And then I had New Nightmare and Dream Warriors. And then I had Halloween H2O, the new Halloween, and Halloween 2 as one thing. But I was like, I'm not going to do that. I love Halloween H2O. That's like the closest any movie got me to feeling like Scream in the 90s was Halloween H2O.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And again, a lot of these films are ones that I grew up with, I think, because again, it was just one that I stumbled across when I was like, I don't know, 13 or something like that. And then went back and revisited all the older ones. But I also had the 2018 Halloween was also on my list. I thought that was a really good sequel. It's not the best one, not the best sequel in the franchise, but I think it was a good one considering how long it's been, how many sequels there have been. It could have easily been absolute trash. So, but I really enjoyed it. So it'll be interesting to see what the next one's like, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, my honorable mention was either Dream Warriors or I put Bride of Frankenstein because I'm not a huge fan of those older like Universal horror movies, but I think Bride of Frankenstein is really good. It's arguably better than the first one, and it's definitely worth a watch for like horror people, but I'm not like, I felt like it just had to be on the list, so I wanted to just mention it. I wouldn't say it's like one of my all-time favorites or anything, but that's really good. Child's Play 2, I think that's the best movie of the whole franchise. I don't know why. I just love the second one. The third one is so bad. Like people overlook the third one being that bad because of how bad a Seed of Chucky is and like Bride of Chucky. But Bride of Chucky's kind of fun, so I don't really get the hate for that too much either.
Well, I guess it kind of took it slightly differently. I'm not a huge lover of Child. I like the first one. I can't even remember the second one, but I think Chucky as a character is better than the film.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I think
it's like Freddy Krueger, right? He's better than 90% of those movies just as a character alone.
Yeah, but I think the first film is a genuinely brilliant film, whereas Child's Play isn't.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's fine.
But so I think he's kind of the character is more iconic than the film, but then it's one of them, I guess. A lot of those films are like that, aren't they? They're not the best film because they're all low budget. So
the low budget sequels that happen also in the middle are super underrated. A Cult of Chucky and I don't know what the other one's called, Curse of Chucky. Like nobody has even really seen those. They're both really good. I don't like the new one. The new remake movie was whatever.
I thought it was awful. I was really looking. Well, I wasn't looking forward to it because I'm a bit. When it comes to new remakes, I'm a bit. I don't know. kind of just leave things alone. But I watched it anyway because everyone was like raving about it. But I thought it was terrible.
In my
It's
favor, I was very drunk. Like I snuck a lot of beers into that movie theater, and I mean I had a fun time, but I was also the only person in the theater yelling at the screen, and
you're like that drug weirdo at the back.
there wasn't many people there. I believe we went even on opening night, and it was pretty dead. It was mostly just a bunch of drunk teenagers. That was like the whole theater. So it was like,
yeah.
I
don't think it. Oh, carry on.
No, you.
I was just gonna say, I don't think it was really a huge push. I don't remember it being a massive deal when it came out.
I think switching to Mark Hamill was also not a good idea. He wasn't bad as the voice, but when you've watched 7 other movies where Brad Dourif did the voice, and then you get to that, and you're like, "What the hell is this?" It just doesn't feel the same. He doesn't have that same sound.
I just didn't like that it was all techie and not the like serial killer thing. It was just like, right, just to change the whole thing. Then that's the whole point of it. I didn't like that at all. And then it was just too like, it was too safe. You know, it felt like it was for teenagers rather than actual horror fans.
It was a dumb, silly horror movie, and it was okay. But I'm not a fan. So let's see. Did I have anything else here? The Devil's Rejects. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
I used to love that movie.
It's a sequel.
Yeah, it's the sequel to A House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, I didn't realize they were.
Yeah.
I thought it was just.
And then that new one that came out, 31.
31.
I don't know if it was 31 or he had another one maybe, but that's the sequel to Devil's Rejects as well.
Oh, 3 from Hell. Is that
3 from Hell, yeah.
I've not seen that one yet.
I don't want to.
No, I feel like he's not. I don't know. He had his heyday back in the noughties. I feel like he's a bit outdated now.
I feel like we might run into him on another list. But okay, The Conjuring 2. I think The Conjuring 2 is pretty good. Annabelle Creation, that was far better than the first Annabelle. And I have a weird one here. I was gonna put it on my main list, but I wasn't sure what we're considering this, and it was 10 Cloverfield Lane. Because it's not like a real sequel, but it is a sequel, and it's not really a horror movie, but it's kind of a horror movie. So I just said
it's kind of like a universe thing. It's a cinematic universe type deal, isn't it, rather than a sequel? But yeah, I guess it kind of counts. Yes. But that's a really good film. I really enjoyed that one. John Goodman is great. He needs to do more stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, all 3 of the cast members were fantastic. Do you have anything else? Any other movies?
No, that was it. Like I said, I'm not big on a lot of the sequels because I tend to, I don't know, a lot of them aren't meant to be that great, so I kind of avoid them. But maybe we'll do a recap in like a year's time and I'll watch more. But yeah, but that was my entire list.
Maybe we won't, because from what I hear, Halloween Kills is terrible. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, I don't have anything else, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll put Kim's Instagram in the thing. All right. Peace out.